Hello, everyone, and welcome back to On Point Politics. And today, I'm going to be talking about why Donald Trump may be headed for a landslide victory in 2024. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's get into the video. And so, pretty much, guys, if we look at the general election aggregate right now, Trump is ahead by 3.2%, which is a way larger lead than he had at the end of April, which was only 0.9. Now he's up to 3.2%. In the five-way aggregate, Kennedy was kind of picking up some steam, but now he's kind of stabilized. However, West and Stein have actually stayed up at where they've gained, because they started gaining with Kennedy, and now they're about the same. Kennedy is kind of stabilizing, but Trump is expanding his lead. Biden at one point was polling at 40.8%. Now he's down to 38.9% in the popular vote. And what's actually funny about this is that if you look, Biden's approval rating is minus 16.2%, is significantly worse than what it was in 2020. And what's actually funny, guys, is that at the beginning of the presidential term for Biden, his approval rating was like plus 20, and Trump's favorability was like at 41%. So all those polls that had Biden up like 17 points in the popular vote in like 2021, like in April, like those polls were not necessarily that off, because approval ratings can actually track who wins the popular vote in a certain amount pretty accurately. If you look at President Trump's approval rating on November 3rd, you'll actually see he ended up getting 45.9% of approval rating that day according to RCP, and he ended up getting like 46.8% of the national popular vote. So the national popular vote can kind of match what the candidate is going to get in terms of like their approval rating and vice versa. And so pretty much when you look at that metric, Biden is basically losing the popular vote by 4 points. Trump's approval rating, according to RCP, is at 44.1%, and Biden's sitting at 40.1%. And so that's a 4-point lead in the popular vote, which is an 8.5 shift to the right. And if we look at the aggregate, 3.27.7 to the right, and we have 16.2 as the negative approval rating for Biden. And we basically have all of the state categorizations here. And pretty much it's a landslide victory for Donald Trump this election. As you can see, he basically wins all of the, Appalachian states and all the Great Plains states pretty easily. He wins Texas and Florida very easily. Ohio, Iowa, these are basically over 20-point victories in Iowa and Ohio. Texas, Florida in the high teens. Arizona and Nevada are right above 10 points. Wisconsin is as well. Michigan and Pennsylvania are not there yet. California is a 15-point win. Washington and Oregon are 9 and 7-point victories respectively. Alaska is also safe. Maine's second is safe for Trump. Maine's first is safe. And if we look at, Illinois and Colorado, these states are actually lean for Joe Biden according to the model. And if we go ahead and fill in these states, we'll see that Delaware is below 10 points and New Jersey is actually below 5. It's classified as a 3.8 percentage point victory for Joe Biden on the map. New Mexico is a 2.8 percentage point win for Trump. Minnesota is a 1.1 percentage point victory. Nebraska second is like a 2 or 3 point win. And if we look at Virginia, it is a tilt state with Maine at large and New Hampshire, and New York is still over a 10-point victory. That puts Trump at 347 electoral college votes. Now, am I not sure that, this model is going to be 100% accurate? I mean, probably not. However, we're going to see here this portion of the model, Gold Crown Politics is part of the model, because I have my model that was reverse engineered to 2020, and we have Gold Crown Politics, and they average out to give us the final result. And what's actually quite interesting about this is that Biden, funny enough, the funny thing about this is that if, even if Biden were to be winning the popular vote, he would still be losing the electoral college. And what's interesting is that this is the only metric you have to plug into the model to predict. Once you kind of guess the popular vote fairly correctly, you're able to predict every single election, because basically he looks at the margins from 2008 to 2020. You look at the shift, the average shift, and you find how it voted relative to the nation. You find the relative vote to the nation in 2024, and then from there you kind of predict the margin for the election. And what's actually quite interesting is that he was able to get 2020 100% correct. He estimated a 5.2 percentage point victory in the popular vote when it was really 4.5 for Biden. And so he was pretty spot on with that, and that allowed him to basically predict every single state correctly in 2020. He was even able to predict Georgia as a 0.6 win when in reality it was only 0.2, but he was still able to get Georgia right, which no one else did last cycle. And my model has been reverse engineered to 2020 as much as possible to be able to basically to be able to predict this as accurately as possible. And so that's pretty much what we're looking at right now. My model right now has the election a little bit closer. Minnesota is still blue. New Mexico, I believe, is basically flipped to Trump like ever so slightly. New Hampshire is still lean. Maine at large, I'd assume. Oh, Maine at large actually going for Trump already. And Minnesota is like a tilt margin for Biden. Illinois is a 4-point win. Colorado is a 7-point win. But this model is a little bit different. Colorado is actually a 4-point win here. And so on the model here, it ends up averaging out a 4.7 on this as well. Illinois is only a 3.8 percentage point win for Biden. So it's looking pretty bad for Biden overall. I mean, it's looking really bad for him, to be honest, because it is just not good. It's really not good. It's looking really bad for him, to the point where Trump is expected to get a big electoral college victory. And the thing is, let's say the popular vote was going to end up being minus 4.5 or whatever, and this is a zero change in the popular vote. And the rule is that you have to plug in the aggregate here. But let's say Biden had the same exact approval rating he did in 2020, which was +6. It was 52% to 46. And what's actually funny is that Trump's approval rating was 45.9% on election year according to RCP, and Biden's was 51.3%, and the estimated popular vote would have been 5.4. So in the actual popular vote was 4.5. So I would have also been able to predict the popular vote pretty accurately if I had done it this way with subtracting their approval ratings. I could have gotten pretty close to getting the actual popular vote. This was only 0.2 points off from Gold Crown Politics' estimation, which was 5.2. So if I had known about his model before, I also would have been able to predict the entire election correctly as well. And so if we go ahead and look at it, Trump is still winning all of the major swing states. He's still up in every single state. We can actually go through this map. So even if Biden had a +6 approval rating, Biden would still be losing the presidential election. He would still be losing it. And we'll just go through the whole map together now. And so if we look, Trump's still going to do fairly well in the, Great Plains area, the Appalachian areas, for example. If we look at, Texas, it's an 8-point win. So Florida, more than likely, is also going to be under 10 points as well in this scenario. If we go to Florida, we'll see 8.9%. And if we go, assuming these are all +10, Colorado may even be over a 10-point victory as well. Yeah, see, it's about 12.8. But Biden still, loses some ground there. Iowa and Ohio, I believe, are still 10-point wins. I think he still wins them. Yeah, they're like 12-point victories there. So that's already, pretty interesting. And South Carolina is right above a 15-point win. Alaska would be safe in this case. New Mexico, in this scenario, is a 7-point victory for Biden. New York is an 18-point win, so that's still a underperformance from 2020. New Hampshire in this scenario is a 6.4 percentage point victory, so he'd still be underperforming there. And if we go to Maine at large, Biden is still winning that by 5.7%. Safe margin here as well. If we go to Virginia, we'll see Biden's winning that by 8 points, which is still 2 points lower than his 2020 victory. And if we go to Illinois, we'll see Biden's only winning it by 12. So even if Biden had the same approval rating, he would still be underperforming according to this. Minnesota would be a 5.9 percentage point victory. Nebraska is second. If we were to go to that, we'd see it's right under the likely margin. It's a 4.9 percentage point victory. And Hawaii would be safe. And basically all of the major swing states would end up being lean margins. Now let's check Nevada. Nevada is a 3.1 percentage point victory. Michigan is the only tilt state on the whole map. It's a 0.8 percentage point victory as of right now. Pennsylvania would be around a 2-point win in this scenario. So even if Biden had the same approval rating, from 2020, and the popular vote was still going to be the exact same popular vote, Trump would still win the electoral college, literally just due to trends, because the Rust Belt's trending to the right, and Biden would still hemorrhage support from some voters. So I believe that Biden would probably end up holding some of his support in these areas, but he would end up struggling in some of the swing states. And so that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Trump is expected to win in a pretty good, pretty big landslide as of right now, according to my model. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure to follow the Twitter and join the Discord in the description below, and I will see you guys very, very soon.